If reading practice at home feels like a daily battle, you're not doing anything wrong. But here's the problem. Most parents are told just have your child read more. And what happens? They rush, they get frustrated, or they avoid reading altogether. Now, what if I told you there's a simple way to improve your child's reading fluency that actually feels like playing? Today, I'm going to show you a strategy called Reader's Theater. And I have made you a tool that you'll be able to use to create these scripts in seconds. Hi, I'm Joanne Kaminski, a reading specialist and dyslexia specialist, and I've been helping students build reading fluency since 2000. And I've seen this over and over again. It's not that kids don't want to read. Sometimes it's the way that we're asking them to practice that just doesn't work. And honestly, I get it. Being forced to read it again isn't exactly motivating, right? So in this video, I'm going to walk you through three simple things: why typical reading practice doesn't work, what Reader's Theater is and why it works so well, and then how to create your own script in minutes using the free tool I created for you. And by the end, you'll have something you can try today. Very little prep and no stress. So let's start with what most parents are told. Just have your child read more. Sounds simple, but here's what I see happen all the time. A child sits down to read. They stumble over the words. They start guessing. And then they just kind of start to rush through it just to get done. And pretty soon, reading becomes something that they want to avoid. Now, fluency isn't just about reading faster. It's actually made up of three things: accuracy, rate, and expression, also known as prosody. And when we only focus on speed, we miss the part that actually helps kids understand what they're reading. So if your child reads quickly but doesn't remember anything, or reads slowly and gets stuck, that's not a motivation issue, it's a practice problem. Now, I'm going to be showing you a better way today. It's called Reader's Theater, and kids love it. Here's how it works. Instead of reading from a random passage, your child reads from a script. They take on a character, they practice their lines, and they reread the same text a few times. But here's the magic: it doesn't feel like repetition, it feels like acting. So instead of saying, read it again, you're saying, let's make your character sound more excited. That one shift changes everything, because now your child is practicing the same words, improving their expression, and building confidence, all without the struggle. Now, this isn't just a fun activity, it's actually backed by research. Repeated reading has been shown to improve fluency. And organizations like the International Literacy Association, they emphasize that expression and phrasing are critical for comprehension. So, what does that mean for your child? It means when they reread a script, they're not just practicing words, they're learning how reading should sound. And that's what helps everything click. Now, you might be thinking, well, this sounds great, but I don't have time to create scripts. That is so fair. And that's exactly why I created this free tool to help. I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. The first step is to enter how many kids are going to be participating. And then step 2 is to add their ages and their reading levels. Step 3 is to choose a topic that they love. And step 4 is to generate your script. And that's it. You're going to have your kids read it 2 to 3 times before they actually read it all together. But here's what to focus on: smooth reading, expression, and most importantly, having fun. So I am going to give you the Reader's Theater script. All you have to do is you're going to click on this, and this is where you're going to enter in the information. I mean, you could just start off by doing hi, right? And then it's going to be able to help you create this. And it's going to tell you exactly what you need. So you need to add in the children's age and their reading level. So if I put in my actual child's name as well, I can put in Leo, age 8, reading level second grade. We can put the next child is Raven, age 10, fourth grade reading level. And we can do mom. And mom can be the narrator if you want, or mom can be a character. All right. So now we also want to come up with the idea that we want, right? Let's create a story about the American Revolution where people are deciding if they want to take part in the cause. Now it's going to pull it all together. Which side are we on, is it called? The mom's going to be the narrator. Leah is the young townsperson, and Raven is the colonist, older sibling or thinker. So here we go. It is the year 1775. The American colonies are changing. Some people want freedom from the king, others are unsure. In a small town, a family must decide what they believe. Here's Leo, looking around. Why is everyone whispering? It feels strange today. And then Raven says, because something big is happening. People are talking about standing up to the king. Leo, standing up, like telling him no? Raven, yes, telling him no taxes without a say, no unfair rules. Some people want freedom. And then here's Mom. The town square fills with voices. Some are loud, some are worried. Here's Leo. I heard Mr. Carter say we should stay loyal. What does that mean? Raven, it means staying faithful to the king. Not everyone wants change. Change can be scary. So as you can see, you're going to have this entire script that you're going to be able to use. There's even here, if you take a look, maybe there's some words that your child doesn't know how to pronounce or doesn't know the meaning of, and you can talk about those. This is written to support the second grade reading level while still keeping him central to the story. And Raven's character says Raven's role includes more complex ideas and vocabulary. And that matches the fourth grade reader. And Mom's narrator role just helps guide the story and adds depth without putting pressure on either child. And then there's some tips here, right? So if you would like to change your voice for feelings, sound worried, excited, or thoughtful, you can also pause at the important moments, and especially before big ideas like freedom or choice. Now, at first, it might feel uncomfortable when you read. So this is where, like, reading it a couple of times, we can kind of change, like, how we say, like, certain parts of it, and really build that fluency, that confidence, and that expression. Because I have so many people who tell me, my kid is reading at such a monotone level when they read. This helps fix that. If you are looking for that tool, all you have to do is download it. I've left the link down below. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of script should I even use? Well, this is where things get really fun because the topic you choose can make or break your child's engagement. Here are a few easy ideas to get you started. Let's think about a fractured fairy tale. So you take a story that your child already knows, like Little Red Riding Hood or The Three Little Pigs, and it's automatically going to twist it. What if the wolf is actually the good guy? What if the pigs are the villains, right? Kids love this because it feels silly and unexpected. We can also bring school topics to life. So if your child is studying something in school, use it. Maybe they're learning about the American Revolution. We can create a scene where the child is a soldier, a messenger, or even someone living during that time. Now they're not just reading, they're stepping into history. You can even take something that your child is trying to learn. Maybe it's vocabulary words, science concepts, spelling words, and turn it into a story. Because when information is inside a story, it's much easier to understand and remember. And fourth, you can let your child be the creator. This is one of my favorite ones because the kid gets to make up the story. You get to ask them, who are the characters? Where does it take place? What's the problem? And then we plug their ideas into the tool and it generates a script. And now they're not just reading, they're performing something they created. And that's ownership. It's really powerful. So whether you start a fairy tale, whether you start with a fairy tale, a school topic, or your child's imagination, the goal is the same. Make reading feel meaningful and fun. Now, if you want to try this with your child, I'll link the free Readers Theater tool below. And if you do try it, please come back here and tell me, what character did your child play? I'd love to hear how it goes. And here's what I want you to remember. Reading fluency isn't built through pressure. It's built through practice that feels meaningful and enjoyable. Let's start small. We'll try one script and watch what happens when reading stops feeling like a chore and it starts feeling like something that your child actually looks forward to. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, can I ask you a quick favor? If you enjoy this content, could you do me a favor and hit that subscribe and hit that like? It really means a lot to me. I want to create more videos that really help you with being able to motivate your child to read. So if you could hit that subscribe and that like, I'd appreciate it.